Hi guys! I've just received my 2018 Spring Hobonichi cousin and I wanted to do a quick walkthrough of it for you in case you're curious to see what it looks like, either just in general or specifically in comparison with the January start cousin. So as you can see, the cover of the Spring cousin looks identical to the January start version, except that it says Spring here. And when you open up the planner, you get the same thing on the inside cover. Then we go to the first spread, which is a set of yearly calendars, 2018, and then in smaller font 2017 and 2019. The Spring cousin starts in April. It runs for a year, April to the end of March, but the calendars here run according to the calendar year, so it starts in January 2018. Then we go to the vertical monthly spreads. So this is 4 pages worth of vertical monthly calendars. It's on gridded paper, as the rest of the cousin will be, which you'll see in a minute. And it starts in April, which is when the Spring cousin officially starts. So at the top here you have 3 check boxes, 2 lines per box, and then you've got this vertical monthly spread with Sundays in red and Saturdays in grey. And then you have some space for notes here at the bottom. This yearly spread can be used for all kinds of different things. I use it as an index to the daily pages because I use my daily pages for notes as well as daily planning. So if there's something long term that I want to be able to refer back to, I write the topic in here and then I can easily find it later in the year. But it can also be used as a yearly overview. So for example, you could put in holidays, times when you're going to be off of work, if you have a class, if you have a conference, anything like that, so that you can get a quick overview of your year. And it's also really handy as a tracker. So if you wanted to use each of these for different things, you could put a little code here at the top, say this is going to be for water tracking and this is going to be for exercise, and then you just tick the box when you've completed that task for the day. So there is a lot of potential for this spread. And one of the things that I love about the Hobonichi is how flexible it is. So they don't dictate to you what they think you should be using any of these spreads for. They just give you the space and then you can decide yourself. Note that the month names are given in Japanese and also in English here. So this is technically a Japanese language planner. There's no separate English version of the cousin, but it is actually bilingual in many respects. So there you are with the vertical spread. As you see, it starts in April and you get 6 months per spread, and then this is the second spread and it goes until the end of March 2019. We then come to the month on 2-page spreads, and these start in February 2018. So even though the weekly and daily spreads and this vertical spread start in April, you can actually start using this a bit earlier if you're really keen. So I have my 2017 Spring cousin here and it's still got a few weeks left on it, but I might be tempted to start this beautiful fresh new planner a bit early, in which case I would use these monthly boxes for weekly spreads if I can get away with it. Probably only for the last couple of days before it's due to start. So there's nothing different here as opposed to last year. You've got a column on the left for to-dos, and as always it's gridded paper. Then you have your month on 2 pages with a Monday start. The cousin is only available in a Monday start, which I really like. And then you have 1 day per box, except in cases where you have an extra where the month starts on a Sunday and it has 30 or 31 days, in which case you get a half box at the bottom. So I'd say this is one of my only slight niggles with the Hobonichi, is that it doesn't have enough room so that you can get a full box in cases like that. But I think that the layout overall is really nice, and it kind of makes up for this because this doesn't happen that often. And what you gain from not having the extra full row is that you've got quite a lot of room in these boxes. So for most of the month you can really, make quite good use of this spread. So I kind of think that that cancels out the fact that occasionally you only have a half box. And you can see that the days for the previous month are grayed out, but you've still got them there in case you want to plan something, if you want to use this whole monthly spread. And then likewise, the days from the following month are also printed in grey. And Sundays are in red and Saturdays in grey, which is traditional for the Hobonichi. Again, you have the month names in English here, and the days of the week as well. So you get all of your monthly spreads, which run until, I think, May of the following year. Yes, so we've got May 2019. And you can see that they do something really clever, which I like, and that's that they add in 2019 for the months of 2019, because this calendar runs over parts of 2 years. So there are 2 February spreads, 2018 and 2019. So they do that just to make sure that you don't get them mixed up and accidentally write something for 2018 in the 2019 spread, or vice versa, which is really useful because I have done that before in previous years when they didn't used to have this. So it's a great feature. This is not the first year that they've had this. They had it last year and possibly the year before. So that's the monthly spread. And then we get into the weekly spreads. So for me, this is the heart of my planning system in the Kazan. And I think it really depends on how you use this. I know there are a lot of people who don't use this weekly spread so much and mostly use the monthlies and the dailies. But then there are people like me who swear by this. So this is a fantastic timed vertical weekly layout. Starting on Monday, you get the same amount of space per day, no shared weekend, which I absolutely love. And then you get a column for notes on the left, a little mini calendar for the month up here. And it gives you the number of the week. So this is week 13. And you have the days of the week in Japanese and in English. So you have a little space here which is blank where you can write in whatever you want. If there's something that is going on that day that you want to be the focus of the day, or if there's something that's running over more than one day, I often use it like that, and we'll write in, like, say if my partner James is away, I'll write in that he's away and the span. So that's quite a convenient little space to have. Now, the weekly spread is where the biggest, or in fact I think the only change has happened compared to last year. So for the 2018 Cousins, and this includes the January start version as well as the spring version, they have changed the timeline to a 24-hour timeline. So I'll just show you what last year looked like. Well, it's actually the current year. I'm still using this one. But if we compare the same week in the 2017 version and the 2018 version, you can see that the 2017 version has 3 checkboxes at the top, and in the 2018 version those are gone, and instead of having 4 blank lines as you do in 2017, you have 2 blank lines. So you could still use this for your top priorities for the day, which is how I generally use this, but you only have 2 instead of 3. Which is fine with me, but I know that there are people who are disappointed that these checkboxes were taken away. But you can still use this to list your top priorities for the day. And then instead of having the hourly spread start at 6, as it does in 2017, it now starts at 5. And instead of running until midnight, it now runs all the way to the bottom of the page until 4 AM. So it's truly 24 hours, which I think is incredible, because for people who work shifts, you know, who work nights, or who like to track sleep, or who maybe like kind of don't sleep as well at night like me and are often awake in the middle of the night, or who have appointments late. So I often have appointments quite late, not in, you know, like not in the middle of the night, but I really, really like having a long timeline, and so I think that it's great having this 24-hour timeline, because that means it caters to everyone. So beforehand you had, after 12, it stopped at 12, and then you had this note space down here. So now you have the line for the day going all the way to the bottom of the page, and it's got the hours. So that doesn't bother me because even though I generally I don't track sleep and I don't usually need to write anything in the middle of the night, the only time that I have to write down an appointment or a time in the middle of the night is twice a year on the Hobonichi release, because they come out at 3 a.m. in the UK. And so I like to be able to note that, because if I am, you know, a completely over-the-top Hobonichi addict, which I am, then I might end up staying up or getting up in the middle of the night to place my order right when the launch happens, and that means I'm going to be super tired the next morning, and so it's really useful to put it in here so that I can make sure not to schedule any early morning meetings the next day. That is how much of a Hobonichi addict I am, I know, but I think I can admit it here, I'm among friends. So I really, really like having this 24-hour timeline. I'm excited about getting to use this, and what I'm planning to do, if you're like me and you generally don't need these hours to be timed and you're used to putting notes in, so what I'm going to do instead is just ignore these times, turn them into checkboxes instead, and carry on as normal. And I think that that's, you know, that's fine. I don't think that that's a problem. I'm just going to carry on using it like I did last year. So if you don't think you need this whole 24-hour timeline, I don't think that that's an issue. You can carry on using it like you did before and just ignore the times. I personally wouldn't put washi in because the paper, the Tomoe River paper, is so thin that it would end up getting really bulky at the bottom of the page. But I don't think it needs it. I think it's fine just to ignore them. So that's the weekly spread. That is a really big change from last year, and I'm excited about it, and I'm looking forward to trying it out. And the weekly spread goes all the way from the last week of March / first week of April to the same week in 2019. So you can see here it goes until the 31st of March 2019. So that's the weekly spread, and you can see that on the side it's easy to find the weekly spread because it's marked here in dark grey. Then we move over into the daily spreads, which make up quite a good chunk of the Hobonichi. And they're introduced by this 2-page blank spread, blank gridded spread, which says turning the page. And you've got 2018 calendars down here, but it's just blank. So again, this has quite a lot of uses. I know people who use this for writing their goals for the year. I have been using this to note down things like websites and projects that I want to do that I will need to keep consulting over the course of the year so that I can just easily go to them. Because I use this as my work planner, so it's kind of limited. You know, like there's some things that I wouldn't put in here. I would only put in things that are related to work, so it really depends on what you want to use this for. And then you get a third page, and then it goes into the first of the daily spreads, which is April. So you have the Remember This page, which has been there for the last couple of years, and I use this as an index to the month's daily pages. So I just write the numbers of the month running down the side here, and then I just put in the topic of each day, whether it was daily notes or something more specific, and then I can go back and find them during the month if I need to see what a particular topic. So this is a daily spread, 1 day per page. Sundays are in the they're like kind of shaded in the same color that you get for the monthly tabs, and the grid paper is also that color. So this is another of my favorite features of the Hobonichi, that each month has its own color, and these colors stay the same year after year, which I really like because it allows you to develop a kind of relationship with the colors. And so when you see this color you think, ah, April, and I really like that. So you've got 5 check boxes at the top. Then you have a timeline, which I personally could do without. I just ignore these timelines because to me they're very squished, so I don't find them particularly useful. I know that there are people who do, so I'm not knocking them, but I just personally don't use them. I just ignore them and write over them, which you can easily do in the Hobonichi because they're quite unobtrusive. So this is actually the same size as the timeline in the A6 Hobonichi, which is about half the paper size. So I know some people use this timeline for either tracking or planning their day, and then they use the bottom for notes. So I just use the whole thing for notes, and you know, just kind of start here and continue on. And sometimes I divide the page into 4 different sections or 2 sections, like things to do in the university and then things to do, work-related things to do when I get home. And sometimes I just use it for notes of various types to do with work. So there's really a lot of potential because this is an A5 page, so you have quite a bit of space. And at the bottom you have quotes. I kind of wish that the quotes weren't there, partly because I can't read very much Japanese, so I don't really understand them and it's not very helpful to me. But even if I could, I think I would still rather have the extra gridded space. However, it's not an issue because, as I said, it's an A5 sheet, so you have quite a lot of room. And you can see again here that you have the days of the week in Japanese and in English. So it continues on like that for the rest of the month, and then you get to a new month and it changes color, and you have this little heading at the top, and then remember this page, and then the same thing to the end of the month, and you get that for a whole year. And you can see on the side how the months are tabbed, so you can easily find your place. And because it's the spring cousin, again, you can see how the tabs go down the page until you get to the bottom here, which is December, and then they go up again to the top, and you have January, February, and March. And the daily pages end on the 31st of March, 2019. And then you've got 4 blank pages, blank gridded pages. Now, I am planning to use these for forward planning, because this is another one of the few things that I wish that the Hobonichi would introduce, is a calendar like the vertical spread, let's say, but for the following year, just so that when you get into the last couple of months of the planner and you start to be making appointments for the following year, there is somewhere dedicated to put them. So failing that, I think that this is quite a good solution, because you could just divide this into, say, the monthly spreads run until May. So the planner actually ends in the beginning of April, so you have an extra 2 months of monthly spreads where you can note down future appointments. And then I would say June, July, August, September, October, November, and that would totally cover you until your new planner kicked in. So that's what I'm going to do with this space. And then I would still have an extra blank space here that I could use for reference topics, things that I'm going to keep coming back to over the course of the year, like the spread that I mentioned at the beginning of the dailies. Then you have a timetable. So you have actually 2 different timetables with Monday through Sunday, and I find this really convenient. I use this for noting down the hours when I'm teaching and the hours when the administrators in my department are working, because they both work part-time, so it's useful to be able to know when they're in. Then you've got this page of graph paper, which can be used for tracking. So an obvious thing to use this for would be something like tracking YouTube stats or Instagram stats, if that's what you use this planner for. I use this just as a blank sheet, so I kind of ignore the graph paper and I use it to note down students' marks for the year. Then this page with favorites, again, you could use this as they suggest for favorites, but it's flexible enough that you could also use it for something else, like websites that you found and you want to be able to refer back to, or passwords, password hints, anything like that. And then you've got a spread which I really like. This is the My 100. And so it's just a list of 100 blank slots, and you can use this for whatever you want to. So I use this for something work-related, but obviously it could be for anything, you know, like favorite films and books that you've seen during the year, or a wish list, or anything. So again, I really like the flexibility of this, that they give you a lot of spreads where you can decide how you want to use them. And then we have some information pages. This is another spread which is useful, gifts. So you obviously use this for gifts, for recording gifts, or again you could use it as a wish list, or really just anything where you would find it useful to be able to have columns. It's got blank spaces and then it has these free columns. Then you have a list of ages, so how old someone is now if they were born in a given year. And addresses for 8 people, and then your personal information at the back. And then you've got the special code for the Hobonichi, the individual number, and that's it. So you know that I am absolutely in love with the Hobonichi cousin, and I think that the couple of small changes that they've made this year to the timeline on the weekly spread are really exciting, and I'm looking forward to using them. So I'm going to be switching over as soon as I can into this new cousin. At the moment, like I said, I've still got a few weeks left in my old one, but as you can see, it's very well worn and loved, and I am excited about switching over to a nice fresh new one. I also got, with my order, this really cool pencil board. So it says no on this side and then yes on this side, and because this is my work planner, I am going to use this as a way of trying to improve my ability to say no, which I find to be quite a challenge. So I'll be taking this with me into the new planner, and I'll make a video when I have done my preliminary setup showing you how I'm going to be using this. So I hope you found this useful. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!